Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's another week. It's Monday. You know, we've got all sorts of good things to talk about tonight. Starting off with the Bulls playing earlier today in Memphis and dropping one to the Grizzlies. That's now 4 in a row for the Bulls to go down. Is it time to be worried, to start panicking? We will talk about that. Davidson Crooks from Fast Break will hopefully be along later on tonight to help us figure out just where we're at with the Bulls as they are now halfway through their season. The Bears, meanwhile, have searched far and wide. They have cast a wide net in their hunt for a new general manager and a new head coach. Are there any frontrunners? Are they looking at too many people? Not enough? We will discuss that as well tonight. And then finally, we've got a couple of legends to remember in the Chicago sports community. John Lester announced his retirement last week. The pitcher, arguably the greatest free agent signing in all of Chicago history. We'll remember him fondly. And then there is a Chicago radio icon who passed away over the weekend. We will share our condolences there. This is Chi-Town Weekly. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Buckle on up. Let's have some fun. And once again, I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Monday night to spend it here with me talking sports about the best sports town in the U.S. of A. This is Adam Karnick. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Got a lot to go through tonight. We've got, of course, the Bulls playing earlier today in Memphis, coming up short. A short roster as well. We will discuss that. Davidson Crooks is going to be with us to help talk about that. We've got the Bears GM and head coaching search that we're going to be going through, and then also some other news from over the weekend. But before we get any further, of course, we do need to acknowledge our sponsors here on IE Sports Radio, starting with the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or go on Facebook and search Southern California Warriors. And Background Check International. Businesses, are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Fremen take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes, such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Go to their website, bcint.com, or find them on Facebook, Background Check International-BCI. And then IE Sports Radio, we've been around for 7.5 years now, bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the world. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. Go to our website, iesportsradio.com, and you'll find our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Shout-outs to at @MLosGreat and at Bay Area Raised. Higher tiers also include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, with Larry B. Thank you all so very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And you can find us on all the major platforms at IE Sports Radio, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And again, the website, iesportsradio.com. And if you are listening live tonight, there's a couple ways that you can be listening live to tonight's show. Of course, in the Spreaker app. And if you're doing that, you can hop on into the chat and interact with us that way. Good evening, Taryn. Good evening, Gina. Nice to be talking with both of you tonight. And then also, this show tonight is on Twitter Spaces. The way you get to that is follow me on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. I've got the spaces up tonight so you can follow along there. And if you want to throw in and talk back and forth with me, you can do that. We're definitely going to be talking a lot of Bears, and Bulls tonight are going to be the big ones. And Taryn is coming up right after us tonight with Set Point, as it is Monday night. And he is planning on talking about Loyola of Chicago. Their men's volleyball is taking on Taryn's alma mater, Long Beach State, this weekend. So good to talk there. And Gina's going to be in and out while she watches the Monday Night Football game. Yeah, we've got the Rams and the Cardinals tonight. And I know Gina is excited because her Niners pulled off the upset in Dallas over the weekend. Very exciting. That was one of the upsets that I did pick. One of my other upsets, unfortunately, did not happen, but that's okay. That's half the fun of picking, is you go over what you did and what worked and what didn't. So, and I'm getting word too, also from Davidson, that he's going to be on in about 25 minutes or so. So until then, let's start things off with the Bears. The GM search and the head coaching search. Of course, I've been, how to put this delicately, I'm not a fan of the McCaskies. We'll just say it. That press conference that George held last week it was a week ago today. And as we discussed, and as had been discussed ad nauseum in the last week, it was a doozy. It was a mistake. It was about as low of a press conference as you could have from ownership, coming off the high of releasing Matt Nagy, which seemed a foregone conclusion at the time when they did it. But then they also decided to let go of Ryan Pace. Smart move, obvious move. Maybe they finally figured out this time, and then you listen to the press conference and realize that no, they just weren't happy with the overall record, and they're going to continue to make the same mistakes. Well, then they announced that Bill Polian will be playing the part of consultant this go-around, and it's a wide net that Polian is casting, and that's great. So far, one of the surprising things of the last time the Bears went through this, when Ryan Pace was picking Matt Nagy, I remember hearing, and once I heard it, I thought, yeah, this does sound a little odd, that Ryan Pace was so quick to hire Matt Nagy. I mean, it was effectively the Chiefs lost in the wild card round, and then 2 days later, Matt Nagy's the new head coach of the Bears. I mean, it was such a fast interview process that Pace like he did with so many of his draft picks, fell in love with his first guy and had to have him no matter what. So if there's an advantage here with what the Bears are doing this time around, it is that they do seem to be taking their time, casting a wide net, trying to get as many different people in the room as possible. Mike Pat joins us in the chat room. Good evening, Mike. Mike does our... Okay, I'll pull everybody behind the curtain here for a minute. Mike hosts Let's Whine About Sports on Sunday. Talks about D.C. area sports, but he also talks about wine and beer and other spirits. And this guy knows his stuff. In the radio chat just 15 minutes ago, and our little IE Sports radio chat that we were having, it started off as just silly banter, but then I challenged Mike to tell us what wines would pair best with Pop-Tarts. And by God, he did it. He broke it all down. Yes, the flavor of Pop-Tart you would have would make a difference, but then here's some wines to look at and consider. So kudos to you, Mike Pat, for your wine knowledge and your ability to just play along with us in our silliness. And yes, it was my idea to get some wine pairings with Pop-Tarts. We don't need to go any further in it than that, but Mike knows his stuff, not only sports, but also about wine. You need to check out his show on Sunday nights, 8 o'clock Central on Sunday nights. Check Mike out. But the Bears search for general manager. One of the things that I was concerned with, too, from the press conference last week was there was the possibility. McCaskey didn't exclude the possibility that the Bears could hire a head coach before a general manager, which just sounds and feels so backwards and so wrong, ultimately, that this just isn't how it should be done. This isn't how good teams do this, and good teams set themselves up for success. That really what you need to do is you've got to get the general manager in there first. And I understand the thinking there is you don't want to lose out on the head coach simply because you haven't hired a general manager yet. If you've got a head coach that you know you love, you want to get him in the building, get him into place. And with a couple of the names that have come up, it kind of makes sense how and why you could do that. That, okay, if you've got Jim Harbaugh, who has coached at the NFL before, that could make sense that he might be somebody that wants some say in the personnel department. Or Brian Flores most recently of the Dolphins, a surprise firing at the time. What we seem to have learned is that, there we go. I was told I had an echo. I think I fixed it. That Flores really struggled working with his general manager and ownership there in Miami. Now, that could be on Miami's part as much as it could be on Flores' part. That's why it's good that they got him in and did some interviewing. So I could see in the right circumstance with the right candidate, you might want to bring in the coach first. But in general, the general manager and the head coach have to work together so much. You don't want the general manager, who is the head coach's boss, by the way, you don't want the general manager coming in feeling he's already got one hand tied behind his back because, okay, you're here to be the general manager, and in the Bears structuring, you are the top football guru, but we've already picked your head coach for you. You need to figure out a way to make it work. Good luck to you. That's just not how good teams operate. That's not how smart teams operate when they do this. So it does seem like the Bears, though, right now there's no rush. Nobody else has hired anybody. None of the other teams out there have hired anybody yet. There was actually one more new general manager opening that just came out earlier today. The Raiders fired their general manager, Mike Mayock. So we're now up to, I believe, 4 general manager openings in the NFL. So there is suddenly a little bit, there is one more team now looking for a general manager. It was the Bears, the Vikings, and the Giants. Now you can add the Raiders to that list. But at the same time, there's still not a rush. With the playoffs still going on, there's lots of good people that you still want to be talking to. Bill Polian, because of his connection with both the Colts and the Bills from his days in the NFL, a lot of names coming in from those organizations specifically right now. But at the same time, there's a little bit wider of a net coming through, and I'm encouraged to see that. I was worried when I was very worried when they brought in Bill Polian, just because here we go again. It's the same thing that they always do. It's sorry, I'm just real quick. I saw a message from Davidson. He's coming in a little bit. So I just want to send him a quick message. But it's not just Bills and it's not just Bills, it's not just Colts that are coming in. You're seeing, of course, Brian Flores from the Dolphins. You're seeing some people come in from the Steelers. You're seeing people come in from the Titans. For the Steelers, it's one of their personnel department. I'm sorry, I don't have the name in front of me. But it's the Steelers are the organization that the Bears keep saying they want to be. I see what's going on in the chat room. Don't worry. It's not escaping me. You guys keep right on going there. You're doing great. They're having high level discussion of Pop-Tarts in the chat room right now. Never a dull moment. But the Bears keep saying they want to be the Steelers. It would be interesting to see what they could learn if they were indeed to get in somebody from that organization. I also think, though, that probably what would happen is they would come in, look at the Bears, and say, oh my gosh, well, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing the other thing. Here's all the things I'd want to change. And the response from the McCaskies would be, but this is how we've always done it. Why do you want to change something? We're just fine the way we are. At which point I would respond, yeah, that's why you've only won 3 playoff games in the last 25 years, and you only have 1 Super Bowl to your name, because you're so good at making these decisions. And then that would probably be the end of the interview. Brian Dable did interview on Sunday, which, boy, I tell you what a way to boost his resume over the week of the day before when the Bills went out and absolutely curb stomped the Patriots with 7 drives, 7 touchdowns, ball game. It was described by some as the perfect game from an offensive standpoint. It was the first time in NFL history a team did nothing but score touchdowns on offense in the game, and they did it against the Patriots in a wild card game. So if you're Brian Dable coming in, that's a heck of a resume booster after his interview. We'll see. I'm not sold on Dable as completely as a head coach. I'd like to learn more about Dable as a leader, because one of the things, as I've mentioned several times, pretty much ever since we've known that Nagy was going to be out the door, is what I want is a leader. I don't care whether that means he's defensive minded, he's offensive minded, he's special teams minded, players coach, not players coach, whatever that is. He's got to be somebody that can lead the team. And I don't know how well Dable would be able to lead the team. One of the problems with Nagy was that he was so focused on the offense, he just didn't talk at all about the defense. He didn't care about the defense. It was kind of the opposite of Lovie Smith, if you remember him from a decade ago, where Lovie Smith was all about the defense, all about the special teams, and then the offense was, well, just don't turn the ball over and we'll be fine. With Matt Nagy, it was kind of that we've got to have the offense working great, and he never could. But I am encouraged overall by the volume of people that they've got coming in. Obviously, not everybody's going to advance to the second round of interviews. All these interviews have been so far just been over Zoom. They haven't had people in the building. They've just bringing people in over Zoom, doing some preliminary talks, and taking a large list and shrinking it down. I like the start. I don't care how long it takes. You know, I've heard some people think that it could take a week. I've heard some people say it could be the Super Bowl before they have a coach. Take as long as you need. Get it right. That's the key here. That's the important thing here, is get it right. All right. Speaking of getting it right, the Bulls have not been getting it right over the last few days. They played the Memphis Grizzlies earlier tonight and lost. It's their 4th consecutive loss. How high should we be panicked here with the Bulls? Davidson Crooks is going to join us. He is one of the co-hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk some hoops with Davidson Crooks. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are back right after this.
From the shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Motorsports takes many forms, and there's one show on IE Sports Radio that's ready to cover it all.
I sure hope you're talking about you and I, Daryl, because I know the Extra Mile is the best place to go for everything motorsports related.
Yes, it is. From NASCAR to IndyCar to sports cars to everything in between, IE Sports Radio has everything covered for the fastest sport in the world.
Plus, don't forget all of our random shenanigans along the way.
That's right, Caitlin. So for plenty of motorsports coverage and plenty of Caitlinisms, check out the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio with Daryl Kinsey Jr. and Caitlin Seen, Thursdays at 8 p.m.
What is going on, everybody? This is Ben Metello, the host of the Yinza Report, right here on IE Sports Radio. I'm bringing you the latest in the Steel City, the City of Champions, from the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates, as well as the college game with both Penn State and Pitt. You could join me every Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, where I'll be talking about everything from the Steel City, the City of Champions, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS. Well, then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson, It's your boy Dentarius Lava.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Talked about the Bears GM and head coaching searches throughout the first portion of the show. The Bulls played earlier today, though, against Memphis, and it did not go well. The Bulls dropped their fourth straight game. They're sitting now still in first place in the East, but it feels a lot more precarious than it did at this time a week ago. The last drop you heard there, the voice you heard on that drop, was Davidson Crooks, the co-host of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio. He and Dentarius Locke break down all things college and professional basketball here on IE Sports Radio every Sunday night at 8 Central. And Davidson is nice enough to hop on and talk about some basketball here with us. Davidson, I see you're listening. I think we've got you set up here in the Twitter space. Good evening. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, Adam. Thank you for having me on tonight. I'm ready to talk some Bulls basketball with you.
Yeah, so I wish that when we were doing this, that the Bulls weren't on a 4-game losing streak. How concerned should we be? I mean, there's part of me that wants to say, well, every team goes through this during the course of an 82-game season. That's how I felt after the Brooklyn game. That's how I felt after the Golden State Warrior game. And it's like, okay, this happens. It's part of what happens. It's part of what we go through. But now we're up to 4. Should I be worried?
Not right now, because you think about this, Adam. Yes, I'm still on top of the East for the moment. We gotta look at this. Brooklyn don't have KD and Kyrie doesn't play every game. So I think that's one thing you gotta look forward to. Okay, Brooklyn, if they make a run, they make a run. But if they don't, they can just look at it today and say star players haven't been playing as a unit.
Yeah.
Milwaukee right now, they beat Atlanta as we speak. You know, they could make a little run and they could challenge for that number 1 spot come maybe All-Star break time. But I think for the Bulls, I think one thing I was more impressed with. You know, with the COVID bug hit them, they still weathered the storm. And yes, I know they dropped 4 straight, but I think this is like a thing they gotta, persevere through. Can they, weather the storm again? Yes, you lost 4 straight, but can you turn this around and kind of get back in the swing of things? Even with Levine out, I think, the way this team is, the way the fight mentality is, I think they can get things going right, and try and make a run again.
Okay. Now with that, so today we've got Zach LaVine was out. Lonzo Ball was out. Alex Caruso was out. You had 3/5 of the starting lineup were regular backups. Now, Billy Donovan did say that Alex Caruso might be coming back this week, but you still got guys like Derrick Jones Jr. and Javonte Green who have missed now extended time. The Bulls are getting thin, aren't they?
Yeah, that was one of my concerns with the Bulls, even before going into the season. Like, you look at to make up this roster, like backcourt and on the wings, they straight. They pretty deep on them backcourt and the wings, but you get to that front line, you know, the only like true post player they had before the injuries kicked in, you know, was Vucevic. And I say it to D-Lock when we're doing our season preview series. They got to add some length down low, some size. Because, I mean, yeah, Patrick Williams is okay, but after that, who you got? Derrick Jones, he's more of a small forward. You know, I mean, yeah, you can play small in today's NBA, but, you know, you still got that depth, big man-wise. This is why I kind of, you know, why I find it strange, you know, why they didn't go after DeMarcus Cousins when he got waived by Milwaukee. You know, played pretty well for the Bucks, and I thought, you know, it'd be a good fit for him, a good fit for the Bulls to go, you know, about an hour 30 down south to Chicago, but that didn't happen. So I think this team desperately needs some size down low. They need to make a move come All-Star break. For who, I don't know. Or maybe find somebody in free agency down low that can help them out, you know, scoring down low. Because look at the stat line right now. Vooch had 7 points against the Grizzlies. That's not going to cut it. And I've been harping on that. Like, Vooch got to score more if this team wants to go deep to the playoffs. He's got to score more than when he's been contributing most of the season.
Yeah, so, and that's been a concern that I've kind of come to realize this season for the Bulls too, is that depth at the backcourt, or at the big, is a weak spot for them. At this point, how could they go about fixing that? If I have it right, they don't have a first-round pick available to them to trade. That got sent away with some of the deals they've made in the last couple of years. Realistically, how do you go about adding depth at center or power forward at this point in the season?
Well, one thing you got to watch out for, and probably happen next month, the trade deadline. Watch who becomes available on the waiver wire. Watch some of these teams that on the lower, you know, I guess lower seeds in the East or West. See who they release veteran-wise, and then maybe try to stack those guys up for a stretch run for the playoffs. You know, or, you know, you find a young big out there that hasn't got the playing time that he wants and go that route, you know. Like, I use a Marvin Bagley, for example, a guy that's not really happening in Sacramento. You know, could you, like, so you can trade with Sacramento for a second-round pick and go that route? Or, you know, a Diamond Stone out of Phoenix. You know, a kid that's a first-round pick but never really got the playing time. You could, like, swing a deal that way. Just, like, deals like that. Or maybe Derek Favors become a buyout sometime this point in the season. Make a swing out of him if he gets bought up. Those type of deals that I think the Bulls should look at. Like I said, you know, I don't know how long. I'll go back to DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know how long he's going to be with Denver. That's the person I will key in on to be on your team. And you're talking about a former All-Star, too. And a guy with some attitude and stuff like that and some toughness to him. That will mesh well with that team.
Yeah, the chemistry of the team has been really good. So even though they don't necessarily have a first-round pick, they're not out of it at the trade deadline. That's encouraging to hear. I like hearing that they could still potentially be buyers. Because one thing, if we've learned from this team from the last week, from playing Brooklyn and playing Golden State, especially those two games, the Brooklyn game especially, is the Bulls need help. That when they're facing two of the top teams in the NBA at full strength, and okay, yes, Derrick Jones Jr. does go down basically at the start of that Brooklyn game, and that looked bad. I was so glad when the MRI came back and they said it's not a torn ACL, because that's exactly what I thought it was when I saw it. I don't know, maybe it's all the football I watch, but that was my fear for him. But still, they played at full strength against Brooklyn and held with Brooklyn for 2 quarters, and then Kevin Durant just turned it on. Is there an answer out there for Brooklyn if Brooklyn is on like that? Is there a way to stop them in a 7-game series?
I think you can stop them. I think, with Durant, there's nothing we could do. He's one of the best scorers of all time in the world of basketball, and Harden too. But I think if you get in a 7-game series with them, I think the one benefit you get, depending what his vaccine status will be, Kyrie, how is he going to factor into things? Because if you really look at it, if you look at this Brooklyn team, they haven't really been dependent on the veteran guys like they were last year. They were kind of leaning heavily on it early in the season, but they kind of really tailed off a bit. You don't see Blake Griffin get that much time. Paul Millsap, and those guys. Again, trying to find some of those younger guys. Maybe they can get some energy, come with them, come course late in the season. Maybe get some good production out of them. So that's one thing the Bulls got to look forward to if they play Brooklyn late, deep in the playoffs. How will those young guys come in those situations compared to your top-heavy veteran guard with the Bulls? But I think the one factor, if you do meet Brooklyn down the line, what's Kyrie's status, how healthy Durant will be come that time, because he's going to be out for a little while. And then James Harden really hasn't been himself since he's been in Brooklyn. I'm not saying himself. He has some scoring moments, but it's like he don't really scare me like he was in Houston.
So with Brooklyn there for just a second, a thought struck me this morning thinking about Brooklyn. It could almost be advantageous for Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving's status. And just a quick recap for those who may not know, Kyrie Irving is unvaccinated, and for Brooklyn, that means he is not allowed to play in their home games. He can only play in road games, because in Brooklyn, if you're unvaccinated, you're not allowed to perform in public arenas. So it could almost be advantageous if you're Brooklyn to get like a 5 or 6 seed and have to play every series as the road team, because then you might get Kyrie for 4 games instead of just you might get to play Kyrie for the 4 road games instead of the 3 road games. Am I crazy to think that for Brooklyn?
Yeah, in a sense, but you still want that home court advantage in a sense. I mean, yeah, and I guess how you want to put it, like, I guess how you want your stars stack up. Yeah, you want Kyrie there for that potential Game 7 on the road, but you can't take away that home cooking, regardless, if you're down the man or not. They almost, had it against Milwaukee last year, but I think, Giannis just pulled that team to just enough to will them, past them, of course, to the championship. So, yeah, I mean, if you're Brooklyn, yeah, you wanted the number 1 seed in a sense. But it's just, I don't know, it's real tough because, it's hard to gauge it's hard to go about how you want to do things, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a unique circumstance, if nothing else. All right, so for the Bulls now, we're in the back half of where they officially started the second half today with the game against Memphis. We talked about some things they could do to maybe improve the team a little bit. Overall, though, 27-15, obviously exceeding expectations to this point for the season. DeMar DeRozan's got to be up there for league MVP at this point, right? Or is that just local radio? We're just falling in love with the signing.
No. I think if you look at the MVP's race right now, Steph Curry, who has to be in it. I'll throw in John Morant as well because Memphis has been one of the sneaky teams of the year so far. I would have KD in it, but, the injury is going to knock him out for a little while. Nikola Jokic, he's another name to consider right now. And DeMar DeRozan, he's another one name as well. A lot of national media people slammed that signing for the Bulls. And, when we discussed it in our previous series, it's like, I think D-Lock probably liked the signing more than I did, but we didn't expect, this turnaround for this Bulls team. And we kind of figured with Vooch and Levine, we thought some things would turn around, but adding DeRozan really catapulted this team to another level. Plus, adding Lonzo and Alex Caruso helped things, but DeRozan's play and his game winners has really capitalized this team and kind of really rejuvenated that city in the sense that, with the other teams there, they really haven't done nothing, but the Bulls have really caught the love right now, and DeRozan is really helping lead that charge. So, yes, DeRozan right now in my top 5 with some of the other guys I just mentioned, and I think he will deserve of MVP considerations.
Okay, I'm encouraged to hear that it's not just the locals are falling in love with the guy. And you're absolutely right. The Bulls have rejuvenated the city. Basketball's always, the sport is always better when your local team is doing well and playing well, and the Bulls are just one of those teams. So as we go into the second half of this season, the Bulls, they haven't faced Milwaukee yet. They're going to be yet at all this season. So they're going to face Milwaukee quite a bit here in the second half. What should we be looking for as kind of measuring sticks for the Bulls as they start the second half of this season?
Well, you alluded to about the 4-game losing streak. I think one thing you got to look out for the next 2 games. You playing a very surprising Cleveland Cavaliers team that won again today. And I'll be honest with you, we did not see this coming for Cleveland. And then even with Rubio and Colin Sexton going out with ACL injuries, they still tops in the league. I mean, still one of the better teams in the East right now. I'm very surprised how they're playing right now. So you got that matchup there. Then after that, you got Milwaukee afterwards. And right now, if you're the Bulls, they could be standing down the barrel of losing 6 straight games. So you got to use the Cleveland game to kind of find things, get yourself together, beat a hot Cleveland team right now, and use that momentum going against Milwaukee, who's, playing, very steady ball right now. Giannis is playing out of the world. Middleton is playing great. I think Drew Holiday with the injuries and stuff like that and COVID, I say he's still trying to find himself. But, use the Cleveland game, play great. Then come to this Milwaukee game trying to slow down Giannis as best you can with your thin front court. And if you do that, I think they go a long way of things.
All right, sounds good. Well, I hope they are able to turn things around a little bit. Yeah, a 6-game losing streak sounds like a horrible, horrible thing to have to go through for the Bulls. Davidson, thank you so very much for joining tonight. We're going to take one more quick break, but thank you so much for joining on and talking some hoops. I'm glad that the Bulls are worth talking about again. Even though they're in a 4-game losing streak, the Bulls are worth talking about again, and that's exciting.
No problem, Adam. Anytime.
All right. That is Davidson Crooks. He is co-host of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio. You can catch him and Dentarius every Sunday night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock in the East. All right, we are going to take one more quick break, and then on the flip side, we have a couple of Chicago sports legends to remember. One simply retired, one unfortunately left us. We will talk about that on the other side of a break. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed of all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development. But we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest donors. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
Are you a Minnesota sports fan? If you are, you should join me, AJ, on my Thursday night podcast called Frozen Takes with AJ on IU Sports Radio. I talk about all things Minnesota sports, from the Vikings to Lynx basketball. Every week I talk about the good and the bad of sports in the land of the Frozen Lakes. Join me Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for your Minnesota sports show on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Kernick. Got to real quick wrap things up here so that we can make room for Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point coming up right after us here on IE Sports Radio. Couple last tidbits to get to from the show tonight. Wanted to remember a couple of Chicago legends. One, John Lester announced his retirement last week. Of course, Lester, the starting pitcher, one of the starting pitchers on the 2016 Cubs championship team that broke the curse. Lester was the free agent signing in 2015 that signified that the Cubs were on the comeback. Arguably the greatest free agent signing in all of Chicago history. We've gone over his numbers before, not just with the Cubs, but with his other stops, of course, famously in Boston and a quick one in Oakland. And then finally he wound up in Washington and eventually the St. Louis Cardinals. Congratulations to John Lester on your retirement. Raise a glass, toast one up to John Lester, a retirement well deserved. And then we found out last night that a legend of Chicago radio passed away. Les Grobstein was 69 years old. He passed away from a heart attack last night. Les was part of the Chicago sports scene for over 50 years, doing radio from Northwestern basketball to Major League Baseball to Bears games to everything in between. I knew of him as the overnight host on 670 The Score in Chicago. For anybody that wants to understand how to do an overnight show, listen back to Les Grobstein. He had just the right way of giving you sports, but also just having friendly conversation for 5 hours in the dead of night. So rest in peace, Les Grobstein, and condolences to his family. All right, that's going to do it for our show tonight. A huge thank you again to Davidson for joining us to talk about the Bulls and the NBA. Again, you can catch Davidson on Sunday nights. Fast Break, he and Detarius Locke do an excellent job. Thank you also to our sponsors, Southern California Warriors and Background Check International, for continuing to sponsor not only this show, but all the shows on the network. Thank you to Larry for all the hard work that he does in keeping all 32 of our shows up and running and active, and everybody doing what they're supposed to do on a week-in, week-out basis. Thank you to Gina and to Mike and to Taryn for hanging out with us in the chat. I really do appreciate it. We had some fun that way. Stick around. Taryn is about to do Set Point. He will be breaking down all things volleyball, a lot of Big Ten talk. He did say he's going to be talking about some Loyola Chicago volleyball as well, so be sure to stick around. I promise you will learn something. You will be entertained. And of course, there's Monday Night Football going on tonight, so keep an eye on all that's going on. We'll see what happens. Next week, we will see where we're at. The Bears might have some news. They might not. We will have all kinds of fun as we shift into focus onto the winter sports and spring previews. All kinds of craziness going on at all times. Never a dull moment in the wonderful worlds of sports in Chicago. For IE Sports Radio, I am Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for continuing to listen and come here and hang out with me every week. I really do appreciate it. Until next week, bear down.